Hi everyone, this is Jason Burak of Wall Street for Main Street, and this is your video blog for Friday, August 6th, 2010. Today I don't want to do really a commodities market wrap-up or specifically talk about commodities. I want to talk about some current events, and I want to talk about how basically you're being lied to or you're being spun. If you've ever seen the movie Wag the Dog, you might know what I mean. Let me just give you a quick summary of the movie Wag the Dog and how this applies to what's going on right now. In Wag the Dog, it was a movie starring, I believe, Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman, and I think also Robert De Niro. And in that movie, the movie was about basically a staged political event, a fake war, where stuff was spun to make the politicians look great. But what's going on now is I think BP has wagged the dog. So I definitely think that the mainstream media has stopped covering a lot of the BP stories. I think a lot of the news that's coming out now is positive, and I honestly don't think it's true. I don't think a lot of the stuff is true. I am looking for outside the box, outside the mainstream news stories. I've been checking on YouTube. I've been finding less mainstream sources reliable, and there's also some good Facebook fan pages like The Truth About the Gulf Oil Spill. So you should definitely check those out. Based on what I'm seeing, is BP might have capped that one well, and it might have stopped, but there's still many others that have opened up along the seabed floor, and the oil that they said is dispersed, well, did the bacteria really eat it up, or did the sun really make it evaporate? Or is that oil just moving down to the bottom of the ocean now and just sitting there? So I definitely think, and if you have people or relatives down in the Gulf, you can ask them if they know the truth. Because I definitely don't think you're still getting it from the mainstream media. I think BP still controls the message. I think the mainstream media has gotten very tired of showing the BP story. And meanwhile, BP stock price continues to climb again and rebound. It's up over $41. It's almost back to where it was. I mean, it was in the low to mid 50s right before it crashed. So given all the risks that's suffering, I know BP took a $30 billion charge, but this is just freaking ridiculous, guys. I really don't think BP's out of the woods here. They've hired a new CEO who has a southern drawl, and they did that to get the congressman off their back and to have him as like a figurehead, more of a political figurehead down there in the Gulf to talk to the concerned citizens who hated Tony Hayward. So I really think BP is still controlling too much of the message. I think that the mainstream media has grown tired of covering BP, especially because the federal government is still, I believe, threatening Class D felonies and over $40,000 fines if people get within 65 feet of the oil booms and other spill containment areas. So it's really tough figuring out what's the truth and what's not the truth based on all the misinformation that's coming out from the mainstream media. If you guys want to know the truth, we will try to post it on the Wall Street for Main Street fan page. There are other Facebook fan pages that do a better job of this, that just focus on this. We try to provide you with up-to-date and accurate information based on our outside of the mainstream sources. And we think, as an opportunity, we think the higher BP stock price goes, the more it's set to fall. I'm still convinced. I still look, I know the stock price is climbing, and I know some of you are buying BP, but are you really weighing the risk versus rewards, or are you just buying all the stuff that the mainstream media tells you? Are you doing your own research? How much time when you bought those BP shares have you spent doing your own research looking into this matter? Because, you know, you're risking thousands of dollars if you buy even a couple hundred shares of BP. So, you know, you need to do your own due diligence. You need to look outside the box, because I still think, I was wrong on my BP trade so far. And if you're still into that options trade, I think you have to look on a longer outdated put at this point. I still think it's going below $20, but I think it's going to take 2 years. I think it's probably going to be looking at January 2012 on those $20 puts. I think those would probably be a good risk-reward play. The higher BP stock goes, you could buy them for cheaper. They'll be more out of the money, and you could probably buy them for literally pennies now. What used to probably cost you, I think it was over $400 for a January 2012 put, you are now looking at probably half that. I'll check that up and I'll post a link to the option stuff later. I didn't have a chance to take a look at that. I've been so busy. Also, grain prices have more than doubled in the last 2 months. So, based on some fundamental factors, one of the main ones of which is China's drought. China is having really, really bad drought problems right now. So that is one of the major things that is influencing stuff. Those drought problems are probably due in large part to the pollution that China is putting into the air from its coal-fired and natural gas-fired power plants, mostly coal. A lot of studies have been done that shows that coal going into the air screws up the rain patterns or causes acid rain or destroys the soil, etc., etc. So I think long-term, the best way to play that, if you don't want to buy commodities, if you don't want to buy commodity futures, which are a lot of margin and stuff, I think the best and safest way, in my humble opinion, to play that is still with the potash and fertilizer stocks. Some of you are looking into commodity ETFs. There was a recent interview done by a hedge fund manager, and this is why I don't think you should be in commodity ETFs. I think they're dangerous now. The hedge fund community has called all buyers of commodity ETFs, and the people, he is one of the hedge fund managers, I don't remember the guy's name, he called them dumb money, quote unquote dumb money, for buying commodities ETFs, because there are hedge funds that know the rollover is coming, and they come in and attack it because they know they'll have to roll over at a higher price, and they intentionally create the tracking error. So why even risk that? Just go and buy the producer who has good leverage and good management and runs the company conservatively, not too much debt. So I would definitely look at the potash and fertilizer companies, because American farmers, European farmers, if China cannot grow its own food, they're going to have to import like crazy from Europe and North America and South America. So everyone take a look there at the fertilizer companies. I still think they're extremely undervalued. Was taking a look at the valuation metrics. I still think they look good despite the run-up here in the last week. And feel free to comment if you have any news still about the BP if you're living down in the Gulf. I would like to hear the truth. I don't think we're getting it from the media, like I said. I think BP is still gaming us. And I also think the government's involved in it somewhat, but I think this is more BP controlling the message because their shareholders and the board of directors, the people holding shares, have a lot to lose. Meanwhile, I think I just read a story that said the BP board of directors continue to dump the stock. So I would definitely look into that. This is the type of research you need to do. If you are going long BP, you need to see if the insiders are dumping shares. If they are, I'm out. I still think this is a Lehman and a Lehman Brothers or Bear Stearns type collapse waiting to happen. Could happen at any time within the next 2 years. And I think the risk-reward ratio to the upside is not high at all. You might make 10 points at most, but the downside is, well, catastrophic. Everyone have a great weekend, and I am out, and I hope you enjoyed this video blog, and please comment on it on YouTube or on the Wall Street for Main Street Facebook fan page. Mo DeWood just did a great technical analysis article on gold and silver, and also the GDX and silver wheaton. And you could send some feedback to us that way. Everyone have a great weekend, and I am out.